Good Friday is one of the most important days in the Christian faith. Yet we can only call it good because it was a terrible, brutal day. The Gospels tell us that Jesus was arrested, mocked, beaten, and nailed to a Roman cross outside the city of Jerusalem. Crucifixion was one of the most brutal forms of execution in the ancient world. It was designated not only to kill, but to humiliate. And that is where Good Friday takes us, standing at the foot of the cross, where God's justice and mercy meet in the death of Jesus Christ. The Gospel of Mark tells us that after hours of suffering, Jesus cried out and breathed his last. And at that moment, something remarkable happened. Mark records the response of a Roman centurion who was standing there watching the crucifixion. Mark 15:39 says, "And when the centurion who stood facing him saw in this way he breathed his last, he said, 'Truly this man was the Son of God.'" Now think about who says these words. Not one of the disciples, not one of Jesus' followers, but a Roman officer who had likely overseen many executions. Yet as he watched Jesus die, something about this moment was different. Standing there at the cross, he came to a remarkable conclusion. Truly, this man was the Son of God. It is striking that this confession comes at the very moment Jesus appears weakest. He is not performing miracles. He is not displaying power. He is suffering and dying. And yet it is precisely at the cross that the truth about Jesus becomes clear. Because the cross reveals something about the character of God. Jesus did not die because of his own wrongdoing. He died because of ours. And Scripture tells us that on the cross, Jesus bore the weight of human sin, and the judgment that should have fallen upon us fell on him. And because of that sacrifice, forgiveness becomes possible. But Mark tells us something else that happened the moment Jesus died. Inside the temple in Jerusalem, something dramatic took place. In Mark 15:38, it says, "And the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom." Inside the temple, there was a great curtain that separated the Holy of Holies, the place that symbolized the presence of God, from the rest of the temple. No one could enter that space except the high priest, and even then only once a year on the Day of Atonement. That curtain was a constant reminder that sin separates humanity from God, and access to God was restricted. But the moment Jesus died, Mark tells us the curtain was torn in two, and he gives us an important detail. It was torn from the top to the bottom. In other words, this was not something humans did from below. This was something God did from above. Through the death of Jesus, the barrier between God and humanity was removed. And the cross opened the way for sinners to be reconciled to God. Good Friday is called good, not because the cross itself was good. It was brutal, it was unjust, and it was humiliating. But through the cross, God accomplished the greatest rescue in history. It is through the death of Jesus the barrier between God and humanity was torn wide open, and the way to God was made possible. Wherever you are today, watching from home or taking a quiet moment during Holy Week, Good Friday invites us to pause and remember what Christ has done. And as we remember Good Friday, we do what the Roman centurion did. We stand at the foot of the cross, and as we look at what Jesus has done, we're invited to see the truth and say with him, truly, this man is the Son of God.